Hi everyone, Halochen in Berlin. My name is Oleksii Serhiienko, and I am SRE engineer at GetYourGuide. Comparably recently, we have enabled database monitoring, and I wanted to share some findings and how our developers have actually used it. So first of all, what is GetYourGuide? I hope you already know. If you don't, you should. This is a traveler platform where the travelers can find some activities. They can all around the world. And as you can imagine, it gets quite big system overall. So today we will talk about how some of our teams has used database monitoring, and we will touch payment platform, we will touch supplier and catalog team. So what is the problem? The problem is, as old as computer engineering is, the website is slow. And what do you normally do? You don't know. And let's for a second imagine that there is no observability enabled overall. And what would engineer do? All I can say is good luck, because luck is what you need. The engineer would get the report. The website is slow. The engineer would get to the browser mode, and very lucky if can replicate the issue. Second part, if when issue is replicated, a developer will analyze all the requests and find the slow requests. Great. Now you have slow requests. Then you go to your local machines and you try to reproduce it on your local machine. Try to break it down into the smaller pieces. And often what happens is that the bottleneck is actually in database. And when the performance bottleneck is in database, it is very difficult and to somehow understand what exactly is wrong and to understand what you need to do to fix it. So that's how our story started. We had one of the users of our supplier portal, and he reported bad performance. Luckily, we have RAM enabled, and RAM, as you know, some of you know, it's real user monitoring, which stores all the information about the user session. Also, it might have a session replay. So we were able to spot it very quickly, and we saw that one of the requests was taken 1.8 seconds, which sounds not that much, but it is much. It is a lot in a context. So once we are able to spot a RAM session, we can also right away deep dive into the trace. And as you all know, trace is one of the pillars of observability, and it pretty much gives you the map of how request is going through your system. And while analyzing it, we saw that 1/3% of all time it was taken by one single query at the database. So what do we do? How we act next? Luckily, with database monitoring, we are able to see this explain query. As I said previously, you would run explain, it's already in Datadog. And looking into it right away, you might say, yeah, it looks great, looks fancy, but what it actually does, where is still the problem? And there is API, magic API button. Boom. It gives you all the description in a human language what happens in the database when a certain query is executed. And it not only gives you the explanation in a human language, it will also give you a suggestion. Most of the cases it would be create index. I actually haven't seen any other suggestion. But create an index, we also know that there is a price for it. Price, it would be slower for write. But as long as it's a very frequent get query is used, then it might be very reasonable to create an index on a service. So you also might ask, but how Datadog even gets this information? It seems very, very detailed. It gets it actually mostly from internal tables. So first of all, we have Datadog agent. Datadog agent has a service account to the database, and it has only read permissions, so it cannot corrupt your data in any way. It gets the data from internal tables, because already a lot of data is actually already in your database. And what it does additionally, it runs explain queries on the sampled queries. So it will see that, okay, this query is called very often. Let's run explain and store and send it to Datadog. So that's the main idea of it. So knowing it, we enabled it for a couple of teams. We did it together with our data infrastructure team. Big shout out to them. And in the beginning, it was only a couple of teams who had it enabled. And they right away were coming with new and new use cases, with new and new examples on what they actually need, what they can actually get, and how useful it is. Nowadays, we have a lot of teams using it. I would say the most, specifically all the business critical teams. And as an example, I want to show you how some of our teams used it and where they find it useful. So, as we all know, a lot of application, and GetYourGuide is also one of these applications, started as a big monolithic application. Then, when more architecture decisions were done, a lot of functionality were taken away, were taken into the different services, but the monolithic core still left there. And that's what our payment team faced. They have this application that used to be whole GetYourGuide in the past, and now they're the main owner of this application. And they never reconsider afterwards, okay, what do we do now, how we can improve, what we actually need or not. So one of the engineers from the team, he started with very simple approach. He decided, okay, let's look into the top queries. And just looking into the top queries, it will already give you some very good understanding on where the most of the time is executed. And what is important to remember is that in the end, all this query execution time will be reflected on your user. It will be reflected on the latency. So once you start approaching this queries which have the longest total duration or just overall have a big execution time, you can win a lot right away. So what he did, he started looking into it, and he did it from both perspectives. One is application perspective, so he looked like, okay, actually, we don't need this query. Actually, it's from the past. It's not needed anymore, and he started cleaning them up more, and he created some indexes, overall improved queries. And you can see on the graph, it was like for some endpoints, more than half latency time has been decreased. So just having this overview provides to developers a lot of possibilities. And this knowledge has been shared to rest of the organization. So what a lot of our teams in organization are actually doing now, whenever they have some, let's say, overview of their system, whenever they go over monitors, over dashboard health, etc., they would also look into the queries to understand what can be improved easily and quick. Also, same developer was looking into how nodes on the database are actually balanced. And back then, it was a very typical setup. They had a database set. Whenever there were more requests, they would increase the database. Less requests never happened, luckily. And what he noticed that 80% of all requests were going only to one write node. So after some rebalancing, he was able to save roughly $45,000 a year, which is a big win. And you can ask, it would be a fair question, but this information was available before. You could find it somewhere, but it was not close to the developer. When the data is close to the developer, it's when the developer is actually acting on it. Another very big challenge we had is raw logs. And raw logs is something very, very complicated to solve if you faced it. But let's start from the little. What is actually a raw log? Transaction and raw log. I can explain it to you. So most of you probably have entered the database and did some queries. So when you do it, the typical story, you go to the database, start transaction, select everything, update something, delete all user data, and then you do rollback, you know. But also you would do it whenever you want to make sure that data is consistent whenever you're in this transaction, the data is not getting changed. And that's what applications are actually doing. Applications are having this transactions to make sure the data is not changed meanwhile. So you can see that what it can lead to when one transaction is executed on the database, another transaction would be waiting. Another transaction is waiting, longer latency. And what Datadog provides is actually provides you this insight into the raw logs. The biggest problem with it is that you cannot, almost impossible, to reproduce it on the local machine. Only one way to reproduce it is actually to get a live data, actually to see the requests. And this data potentially is stored in the database. You can find that, oh, this row is blocked by this process. But you will just get a process ID. You will not understand what request blocked what other request, what our requests are heavy with this logging thing. Like, you cannot see much. With Datadog, actually, it provides you this end-to-end visibility from trace directly to the logged query. And once you already see it, you can act on it. And that's what the team has done. And the team has not only introduced it locally, they have introduced it company-wide. And now we have work and some run books on how to solve raw logs. And we have monitors organization-wide. And in the past, we had incidents because of raw logs. Since then, it's way, way more actionable. And continuing this topic, I also want to talk about another engineer who was exactly looking into this issue, and it was difficult to debug. He would see the trace, he would see a lot of spans, he would see that trace consists a lot of queries because each query is a separate span. And then he saw, like, okay, I want to see what transactions are conflicting with each other on a trace level. But automatically it was not provided. So what he did, since Datadog trace agent is very flexible, he wrote a wrapper around it as a library that would group all these database queries, all these spans, into one transaction. So what happened afterwards, once you can catch the problematic requests, you can see exact transactions that is causing the raw logs and performance degradation. And this was such a good improvement, such a big improvement, that all our services that are using Java Spring Boot, and its majority of our services, have also adopted this library. So what is it actually leading us to? It's a good example on what is happening with current developers. We could have already seen it in the past. We could have seen it before COVID, that developers would be not so specialized on one small things. You would see that there would be no specific developer for a database design. There would be no specific developer for backend and frontend. Developers will work on a full stack of the application, because what is the most important? The most important is user experience, and in this case is latency. And when teams work together as a team, this will bring the best results for everyone. This would be the best result for the team overall. What they do, they can, once they get the full visibility on a full stack, starting from RAM down to database monitoring, they can act on it way better. And they will be not so specialized on some smaller things. In this sense, we also see that with this boom of AI, it's happening right now, that we are seeing how new developers are getting shaped, and that's how they will be shaped in the future. In the past, when developer wouldn't know what is explain query, what does it mean? It would be a knowledge gap. If he wouldn't find who to ask, he would abandon it, and he would not solve it. Now, with AI, developer would go and get immediate feedback, would get immediate recommendations, will get immediate explanations, some suggestions on how this can be solved. And only one thing that would be limiting the developer is lack of observability. So once there is a full visibility over a full stack, the developer will be able not only to solve it, but improve overall performance. But what does it mean for us as SRE engineers. It is very, very important for us to give this visibility and these tools to developers. We should not gatekeep them. We should give them as much as possible now, and they most of the time will find a better usage. There was one of the developer who told me that he had experience with 2 databases. One database had database monitoring enabled, another one didn't. And he said that on a second case, it was like working in a dark room. And I think it's a good analogy for us SRE engineers with observability focus, that we need to bring more light into this black box of engineers. Once we start introducing the features, look, they know product the best. They know struggles the best. We might be as involved. We might be joining their team, but we will never fully understand all their struggles. They know it the best. So what we should do, we should learn from them. We should give them the tooling, we should see how they use, and we should try to adopt it across organization. And that's our main idea, is to give them end-to-end visibility, all data correlated, and adapted. So I want to say thank you, and also if you're also passionate about SRE, about observability, about operational excellence, GetYourGuide will be hiring in Berlin soon SRE engineers, so keep an eye. Also big thanks for everyone who works in GetYourGuide, who helped, and all observability team, and hope you liked the talk.